You said something I didn't quite understand. You said before COVID. I don't, was there ever a before COVID? It feels like it's been like 25 years at this point. The
Going
before times.
in to see people with, you know, flesh.
Exactly, exactly. Although this film does feel kind of like an
It's
interesting,
weirdly
COVID.
remote. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a COVID accessible film because you have the remote aspects of it. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and today I'm joined by Randall Okita and Skyler Davenport from See For Me, which is coming to theaters, on demand, and digital on January 7th, 2022. We're going to talk to them in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Randall Okita and Skyler Davenport from See For Me, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on January 7th, 2022. It takes like a tried and true horror formula and puts an interesting new twist on it. I really enjoyed it, and you can all see it soon. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for speaking with us. Nice to chat with you.
Of course. So I guess the first question is for Randall. I mean, you're the director. How did this film come across your desk? Like, how did you kind of get involved in this movie? It's such I don't know if fun's the right word, but it seems like a pretty unique, interesting horror film. Maybe it was fun. I don't know.
I think fun's a good word. I was initially sent the script and I was immediately impressed by how tight it was. There's a lot that's been done in the space. There's a lot that's been done in thriller and suspense, and this not only worked as such a tightly woven kind of piece of clockwork, but it also had some twists that I didn't see coming. Not to give anything away, but there was some new takes on what was happening in there, and then at the heart of it had this layer of representation. We see a character that we haven't seen before. We see a character represented, that had different abilities, that's represented as a full-blown, flawed, dynamic character with challenges and changes and evolutions. And to me, that combination of like a really fun genre piece and a complex character at the heart of it is just like, that's everything that I want to get into. Forget about all the language of thriller and the dynamic physicality of this chase that's happening through this house at night. So I was immediately intrigued, and I'll just say that the cherry on top is when we discovered Skyler and I saw Skyler's read, it all started to kind of come together, and I could see it happening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love Skyler. I love your character. I loved your performance in there. So how did this come across your desk? I mean, I guess, were you looking for, I guess, a feature film, or did this just kind of randomly like, hey, I could do this. Like, this sounds like a fun, interesting role. Like, how did this come across for you?
I mean, the usual process. I got a request to tape for it because production actually sent me a note through one of the websites. We understand that you're visually impaired, and if that's actually the case, you fit the specs that we're looking for, and we would like you to use these sides to tape, a self-tape audition. And so I sent that in, and about 2 months went by. I was like, okay, nothing's happening. And then they asked me to come in and read. This was before COVID. With the casting directors and the director and everyone, and they put me on tape there in the room when it was in person, and that got sent to, I guess, producers. And then there was another audition 2 months after that, and then after about 6 months of taping and coming in, they said, we would love to give you the role. So
just your typical process. You find the role you like, you just audition for it, and you get it just like that. Just boom.
It was a lot. There's so, like, I don't know if that's common for things to be that drawn out, but I think there was a lot of like thought on production side as far as finding someone, and I think they had been looking for a while. So
that's perfect. And you said something I didn't quite understand. You said before COVID. Was there ever a before COVID? It feels like it's been like 25 years at this point.
Going in to see people with, flesh.
Exactly. Although this film does feel kind of like an interesting,
weirdly
COVID.
Remote. Like,
yeah, it's a COVID accessible film because you have the remote aspects of it.
Oh my god, that's good.
Maybe this is our future world, right? Who knows?
Oh
Who knows?
no, that was so funny.
I love that you both mentioned representation because so after Coda last year, I'm sure everyone's seen it. There was a big emphasis about that film that they used actual deaf individuals to play the characters and to kind of get that perspective and to get that representation. I love that you both mentioned as well. The first thing I did after I saw the film, because I don't read before I watch movies, is I Googled you, Skyler, to see if you were actually visually impaired or if you were just doing a really good job acting. And I loved seeing that you brought that to this role. Like you had that kind of lived in presence. So I love that was a consideration and that was kind of a big part of this movie.
Sorry if you can hear them vacuuming the hallway.
Oh no, I can't hear. Really good noise cancellation on the Zoom. So this felt like a kind of a big undertaking for both of you in different ways. I mean, Randall, you this I think was your second feature, so you have movies in the past, but not as many features. So what was it? Were you nervous to take on this role, or was this kind of something you're like, okay, I'm ready to do another feature? Like this one seems perfect for me. How did that go about?
Well, first of all, I mean, I was going to say, just in terms of the representation, yeah, like to me, that was such an important part of the making of this project, and such a point that attracted me to it. The fact that production and everybody was willing to take the time to find somebody who could authentically represent this, and saw that it was an opportunity to create sort of a richer, better film, that included these layers of lived experience. And the fact that Skyler was such a generous collaborator, not only in incredible performance, but also just in helping us inform so much of how Sophie moves through the world, and the nuances of how Sophie would perceive these situations, but also move through these situations. So thank you for mentioning that. And yeah, I mean, listen, this was an incredible challenge, but it was an incredible joy to make. I felt excited for all of those reasons that you mentioned. I felt excited about engaging with the language of a thriller and suspense, and working, with the stylistic elements of that language within this reality of this nighttime, isolated mansion. I mean, this is so much of the things that get me excited, working with that language and honoring this sort of rich history of thrillers and the home invasion, subgenre of thriller, and all of these things that are out there, but then also trying to bring something new and fresh to that language. I mean, I felt ready. We had extra challenges of trying to reinvent production, in a safe way, not only in consideration of visually impaired performers, but also in terms of COVID, and in terms of like, how do we find new ways to do this? And of course there were challenges and delays as a result of some of those things. But I also thought it was such a great opportunity for us to like look at the production process and figure out how to do this in a safe way and take care of each other. And I think that that's just something that has echoed through the work for me, and through the sense of teamwork. And I feel like I've learned a lot from that, and it's something that we can carry forward, in just how we make things. And I think that it just makes for better teamwork and for better projects.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Seems like at this point there are some there's some projects that are recognizing that the work is worth it, right? Like having to put in a little extra work for authenticity or for safety or all of that is definitely worth it. And you get the kind of you see that in the final product, even if it's not necessarily easy to quantify. Skyler, I love that.
I couldn't agree more. It's so important. And I think that is the work. I think there's often, I just want to highlight that what you said, because there's often this sort of sense of like, well, it's going to take this extra time, when the irony is that we're working in this medium where like the whole point is to make things that are good, and to make things that will satisfy the audience and entice the audience, and to show things that we haven't seen before. And so we forget that like that is the important work. So the time it would take to cast authentically, or to research, or to engage the communities that we're trying to represent, that's the work that I think is the most important, and that is the most rewarding on the other end for the audience. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, definitely. And Skylar, you have a ton of acting in your background, although not as much on screen. So how was it to prepare for kind of an on-screen leading role? I mean, other than now you have to deal with probably like 2 hours in the makeup truck before you get on screen versus doing voice acting where you could probably just roll up and do your lines. And by the way, I love seeing that you were in Sword Art Online. I love that series. That was a plus in your resume.
That was a plus. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, that's on camera is what I had been sort of going towards the entire time. So I did have like experience in it, obviously not, lead in a feature until now. But it's two extremely different worlds, voiceover and on camera, but I love them both for different reasons. And yeah, it is on camera is definitely longer days, harder physicality, harder everything, and that's okay. It's different, and I feel like 2 hours in a makeup chair is actually not that long in the grand scheme of things. So when you said that, I was like, that's some actors have to spend like 6 getting on like prosthetics and all this stuff. So I'm like 2 hours. I was like, okay.
That's your next step. Your next step is going to be like a horror, monster. So you have to be there for 6 hours, get like everything decked out. I love that your character also was fiercely independent and kind of projected that without, I don't know, forcing the viewer, like being obvious to the viewer, like the way you interacted with people. And I'm wondering, was that Sophie the character as written, or was that kind of you injecting some of your own personality and kind of how you would interact when you want to, do things on your own? Like how much of that was you? How much was Sophie? Maybe it was somewhere in between.
Was a combo. Definitely not how I would ever treat people in my personal life. So none of that comes from Skyler as a person, but it comes from Skyler's mind interpreting the script. So part of that was just the way that I interpreted it, and I think that was the way that they meant it, so it clicked. And yeah, and I just always had to make sure that there's a balance between because if you lean too far to either side, then a character is suddenly not interesting or not as likable. So to make sure that there was like this like sort of hard ass, independent attitude, but like sprinkled with shit, there are some things I can't do and I need to ask for help. And there are things that upset me and trigger me just like any other human. And so to just sort of have it be a wave and not a flat line.
And I think it's important to put those in there, right? Because like if it's a big feature film that is about representation, like it's important to have the audience see those and think about those. Like I wouldn't have ever thought about any of those things that were happening. I was like, oh, they're trying to be helpful. Like, no, I can do this. I want to do this. Just kind of give me the bare minimum so I can do it myself. And I thought that was an important thing to bring out. A lot of this movie is also kind of your and Kelly, who's played by Jessica Parker Kennedy, your interactions. How was that to film? Was she also resident in the house and maybe a different like gamer room, or did you actually kind of film that stuff remotely? And how was that to manage? Because that seems like
that was totally separate. So Kelly was mostly, all of my dialogue with her was either like an AD or somebody on set just calling out lines, or just totally in my head, and we're just leaving space for Kelly's lines. So I didn't. Oh, wow. None of my interactions with her, they were all a voice in my head. And then on her side, I actually was on set for the 2 days that she was shooting. So I was reading Sophie from off camera. So it was very remote.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the modern way, right? Maybe that's the future.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in post.
Oh God.
So I know we have very limited time, so I'd like to move it. I call it the lightning round. They're just very lightweight questions about the characters in the film, see how your personalities, both of you, map to things that happen in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. The first question, I love this scene. Have you ever pretended that your phone didn't get reception to hang up or avoid a call?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Is this
very honest? I like that. Yeah, anyone can answer.
I've never pretended. I also like in the question's defense, I don't get tons of phone calls. So, but no.
Maybe now that
I've been super delayed in answering someone who's called me, but not intentionally. I've never made a fake excuse.
Have you ever accidentally triggered a security system?
Randall,
Randall's just a rebel.
I don't think I have. Like not unless I was like sleepwalking or something. No, I don't think so.
Do either of you play video games?
I used to when I could see normally. I don't anymore, and now I'm just in them.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've evolved, you've progressed now.
It's really extremely difficult for me to play, especially because they're getting so intense and like just there's so much going on that I'm like, I can't. I will watch someone else play them so that I can like hear the storyline. I love that. I love the storyline of a lot of like games, but I can't play them really anymore.
Almost turned into like a movie experience.
I'm just in them. So
but I do like that you've evolved. You used to be an observer, and now you are the instigator, the entity in the video game. So that's
yeah, that's a
nice.
funny like turn of events.
Do you have a good friend that you've never met in person?
Yes.
See the Randall's thinking. All right.
Oh, this is the one where I get to say yes, and Randall's
yeah,
like,
there you go. Have you ever had to break into a house or break into a establishment of some sort?
No.
Just
like I mean, I didn't do it, but like if you're like locked out of a car and you have to like finagle it, but it was like our vehicle, so it wasn't like.
I mean, you were allowed to be in this house when you broke into it, so it works.
I know, yeah, no, I don't think I've ever had to break into.
So this film had a few, I call them vices. What is your vice? In the film I saw like smoking, wine, Red Bull. What is your kind of guilty pleasure or vice?
Boba tea.
Really getting into that anime. I love it.
Jasmine green tea with bubbles. That's my, oh my God.
That is a very kind of family friendly vice. I like it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't smoke or drink, so boba tea.
I'm curious to see what Randall is, because I know Randall's like a rebel. What's
celery.
Your vice?
It's celery.
It's celery. Indeed, I do have a celery thing. Honestly, I mean, it's movies, because we gotta do things. I gotta do things in the morning, and I know that I have to do things in the morning, but then it's late, but then you really want to watch that thing, and then so that's still an issue. But it's not the worst one, but it still sometimes interferes.
Yeah, most of my movies are watched between like the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So I completely understand.
Yeah.
Don't tell me where, but do you have a secret hiding spot for your valuables? Or tell me where, and I'll,
Kind of.
Okay.
I don't have any valuables. Yeah, Skyler's hiding spot is everywhere.
It's hidden in plain
because
sight.
It's all valuable. I
could be really cheesy and say valuables. In my heart.
There you go. the memories are the most valuable things. The friendships that you made along the way. And the last question is, well, what is the best glass or bottle of wine that you've had? And the answer could be none. And I don't know, maybe you've never had good wine.
I don't drink, so.
Skyler,
sorry to ruin I've like stuck my tongue in some wine once, and
So you're just a retailer, a reseller.
My vision is like I'm drunk all the time, so I feel like I don't need to add to it.
That makes perfect sense.
You say the best glass or bottle of wine?
Yep.
Oh, I'm not really a drinker either, but I did have a wine it's a British Columbia. I think it's Canadian wine. That's called Joue. Joue. That was really good. A red that I tried over the holidays.
Perfect. And so I loved how this film was I kind of thought of it as like Home Alone, except with murders. So I'm happily waiting.
A straight face with what you said. That was good.
So I'm hoping that maybe we'll see sometime soon. See for Me 2, Lost in New York. Is that something that we can look forward to? Is that something we can expect?
With COVID.
Lost is actually just you in your apartment with COVID.
Oh my God, please.
Is there some sort of future plan for these characters, or just kind of waiting to see how it does, and then we'll see what happens next?
I think we got to see what happens, but it's not something that we would be opposed to. There have been a few ideas lightly kicked around, but I think we got to get this one out first and see how it does.
That sounds good. Well, the film comes out in theaters, digital, and on demand on January 7th, 2022. You can 2022, we made it, everyone. It's the new year. You can check it out in theaters if you're comfortable, or if you'd rather see it at home, you can check it out at home. Just make sure to lock all your doors, arm your security system before that happens. Make sure to be safe. And this is Randall Okita and Skyler Davenport. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for chatting with us, David.
Of course. That was Randall Okita and Skyler Davenport from See For Me, which is a horror movie that takes a nice twist on a tried and true formula. It's coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on January 7th, 2021. So you can check it out in theaters if you're comfortable. You can check it out in the comfort of your own home if you're not. Just make sure to lock your doors. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And please check out my other content. I've got other movie reviews, interviews, recommendations, and unboxing videos. Thank you.